Maybe the worst time to buy a house is when everybody else thinks it's the greatest, and this video is going to walk you through why I think that March is the worst time to be buying a home. So everybody talks about the spring market. They talk about how it is the best time to buy. It has so much more inventory and it's got all these great things. But what you fail to look at is the fact that everybody else is also doing the same thing. So when you are looking to purchase a home, there's a couple things that you likely want to keep in mind. You want the best price, the best house, and the best possible terms, and you probably want to do it on your timing. So oftentimes you're trying to time your move around when your lease is up. Especially as a first-time home buyer, you might be trying to figure out when you can do that and still have your lease end date. And what I find a lot of buyers falling into the trap of is waiting until that lease end date to then start searching for a home, or maybe searching for a home only a couple of months in advance. And what I might recommend is actually looking at the seasonality of the housing market, starting there, and then timing your move around that. Now, I know that you might not be able to get out of having a lease end date in, let's say, June, right? But if you take a look at what your terms are to break your lease, oftentimes I find they're only like one additional month, or maybe you lose a damage deposit, and that is often a lot less than purchasing in a time of year that other people are also purchasing and the market's much higher. An example of that being, if you were to purchase a home in January, it's much more likely that you're going to be able to get $5,000 to $10,000 less than if you wait until March, May, June timeframe. And so that $10,000 difference is going to be way more dramatic than a $2,000 or $3,000 term that you're going to lose for breaking your lease early. The other thing to keep in mind there is that you don't actually have a mortgage payment for almost 2 months after purchasing a home. So if you close on your home in February because you started your search in January, you won't have any payment until April 1st. And if your lease is up in June, that could also mean that you only have 2 rounds of double payments, which is likely still less than the $10,000 that you would otherwise be losing out on if you waited that far. The difference between purchasing your home in January and purchasing your home in March could be literally a $10,000 difference. And if it only costs you $2,000 to break your lease, wouldn't it make sense to purchase in January instead? So when you are looking at purchasing a home, finding a time that is going to be when nobody else is purchasing or limited amounts is really the best for you. December and January are typically those 2 months. I myself have only purchased homes in January, and I find that it is the best time of year because you ultimately get the most amount of inventory as people are, putting their homes on the market after the holidays, and you beat most of the crowd because a lot of buyers don't start searching until they know what their tax return is going to be and when they think the market is, which is in spring for them, which is March. So if you want to beat the rush and get the best possible deal, looking in January and potentially even the end of December, like that last week, are really going to be the best possible things for you. And if you have questions as a first-time home buyer or just as a buyer in general, check out some of my free guides below. I have information on how to make that move for you. Or if you want to hop on my schedule if you're in Washington State and talk more logistics about how to make that happen, feel free to hop on my calendar down below or leave me a message, and I cannot wait to connect. My dog is eating snow boots behind me.